Hello and welcome everyone. It's really nice to have you here. I am Kim and I'm here with my colleagues Elise and Kim. And we work at the Educational Research Lab Point, and we work as coordinators and junior researchers at Point. And in this function we organize the Point meetings, we guide teachers with their research, and we conduct our own research. And today we want to share the story of Point and how we successfully connect research and practice in the field of gifted education. And we will first tell you something about Point, and then we will elaborate on how we stimulate a critical and research-oriented mindset of teachers, and how we stimulate evidence-informed education. And we hope that by the end of our talk you are inspired to stimulate evidence-informed working yourself, in education, of course. So first, a little bit about Point. And Point is an educational research lab in which teachers, teacher educators, and researchers work together in order to improve the education for all learners, but especially the gifted learners. And we do this by creating and sharing knowledge. In collaboration with each other, we design, conduct, and implement both scientific and practice-oriented research in the field of in educational practice. And I forgot my text.
Okay. You have the research cycle?
Yeah, our research. Well, we do a lot of research, and this research results in scientific articles, practical articles, fact sheets, short informative video clips, and so much more. I would suggest to take a look at our website. Working method contributes to teachers having a more critical and research-oriented mindset, and researchers working in a more practice-sensitive way, which is also very important, we think. Well, we think you might become curious, well, how do they do that? How do they create a critical and research-oriented mindset of teachers? Well, in Point, teachers conduct their own design and conduct their own practical research within their own school. And the subject of the research is something that's also not a problem, of something that is a thing, just to call it so, within the school. So the research is also very valuable for the teacher and the schools for their practice. And the researchers guide the teachers with their research. And we use this research cycle to guide the teachers. And we will go through all the steps to tell how we do that.
Yes.
We'll start off.
Thank you. So, the first phase of the research cycle is the problem identification. During the problem identification, the Point teachers first explore in their own schools what kind of problems they want to solve. They talk with their colleagues about why is this a problem and why we want to solve it. Why do we want to solve it? And in this way, the core of the urgency of the problem becomes clear. During the second Point meeting, the Point teachers bring their topics and discuss them with each other. The teachers become critical friends, asking, for example, why is this a problem? Why is it worth tackling this? What has already been done, or where can answers be found? During this process, the core of the problem becomes clear. After this phase, the teachers have summarized what they want to research, so the focus of the research, what knowledge they want to acquire, and which improvements this knowledge aims to contribute. So in short, teachers translate their practical question into a knowledge question. The second phase is the collection of relevant literature. Most Point teachers are not really familiar with the searching and selection of scientific literature, so an important part of the Point meetings is to support the teachers in this process. To do so, we use some tools, and one of the tools we use is the Dutch web tool onderwijsmetkennis.nl. This web tool explains where you can find literature, what the best way is to find literature, and how you critically select this literature. The Point researchers support the teachers in this process. Now, when the teachers have found the literature, they save it in a shared database, and in this way, the teachers share relevant literature about different topics with each other. Now, after the collection of the literature, the teachers have to write a small theoretical framework about it. And from experience, we know this is a difficult part for most of the teachers. To support the teachers, we give a lecture about academic writing, and the teachers practice how they write a logic line of reasoning. After the practice, the teachers get started with their own line of reasoning of their theoretical framework. So, the problem has been defined, the theoretical framework has been established, so the research questions can be formulated. During a lecture, the teachers learn what a good research question is, and they learn about the pitfalls in formulating the research questions. Besides that, we give some examples of bad research questions, and we give some examples of good research questions. And after this lecture, the teachers write down or formulate their own research questions. Oh, I forgot to click. So, the research questions are formulated, so a plan can be made for data collection and data analysis. And this happens in the phase of research design. The teachers think about what they need to create a research design. During this phase, we give attention to, for example, the methods of the research, the instruments which they can use, the respondents, things like that. And in this phase, the teachers are again critical friends of each other. They ask each other questions like, do you cover your research question only with a survey? Or do you get all the information if you only interview teachers instead of parents? Now, another important part of the research design phase is research ethics. During a workshop, teachers are confronted with various dilemmas which they may encounter while conducting their own research. It is discussed how they can best deal with these dilemmas and how they can act ethically. An important question is, what is the impact on your students if you interview them as a researcher besides being their teacher? Last, the teachers learn how to store their data in a safe way. After these 4 phases of the research cycle, the point teachers make a research poster. And here you see an example of a research poster of point teacher Aline. And these posters are presented to each other.
We've sized down the posters after this year because it's the actual size. A little bit too big. Oh, you already clicked. Now, when the teachers have thought about the design of their research, of their setup, they start with collecting the data. Yeah. And as mentioned before, data can be collected in various ways. So, for example, they take an interview, a survey, or they use concept maps. And the teachers mostly collect the data themselves or with help from their colleagues. Now, when the data is collected, the data, of course, has to be processed. And the interviewers are transcribed and coded, and they use their theoretical framework for the coding. And other textual data is mostly coded as well. And this data and the quantitative data is entered in Excel. And then they do some calculations, for example, frequencies or for mean score, to get some interesting results. And we mostly use Excel, because most teachers have Excel on their laptop, and it's not a too complicated program to work with. And then, of course, the results have to be written down. And we pay explicit focus to objectively writing down the results. So really information that comes from the analysis and not some interpreting. And we also pay explicit focus to to visuals, so really clear and value-adding visuals, because we know schools, or I think people in general, love to see visuals. And then they have to draw conclusions. So they ask themselves the question, what are the answers to my research questions, and how do they connect to my hypothesis, to other research, and to other literature? And after that, they think about recommendations they can give back to their colleagues and to their school. And because they know the context of their research well, they also know well what kind of recommendations will work within their school. Yeah, and then, of course, the research has to be shared with their colleagues. So they write a report from all the steps from the research cycle or a practical article. And they also think about, we think the implementation of the recommendations is really important. So the teachers also make a product based on their research. And this can be anything, for example, a method, a fact sheet, or professionalization method. Like everything, they're free to think of what they would like. And afterwards, we give a workshop to pay attention to how do you implement such a product. I will give the word to you. Okay.
I hope it works. Yes. Okay, let's go to the last part of our presentation. Kim and Kim have told you a lot about POINT and how teachers do their own practice-oriented research in POINT. And I would like to tell you more about how you can develop a critical mindset in teachers, especially when it comes to using methods and learning materials for gifted students. Because in educational practice, teachers often use various materials to help gifted students develop and grow. But an important question is, which materials are really effective and why? And therefore, the teachers in POINT learn how to look critically at their own learning materials in an evidence-informed way. And in evidence-informed working, both knowledge from research and experiences from practice are used to improve education. And research has already shown that evidence-informed working leads to a better quality of education, but also to a better research culture in the school and a research-oriented attitude in teachers. And last but not least, it bridges the gap between science and practice. So, how do we do this in POINT? During each POINT meeting, one of the teachers shares a good practice. And good practices are, for example, learning materials, activities, or methods that teachers already use in their own practice, and of which they believe it's effective for their gifted students. I will take a look at my notes. Yes, thank you. Yes, all teachers make a description about one of their materials, learning materials, and in POINT we call this a material description. And to make a good material description, the teachers use an evidence-informed approach because on the one hand they use research and studies and literature, but on the other hand they also use their own experiences from their own practice. So I will give you an insight into how a material description is constructed, and I will zoom in on those four most important parts. And in the first part, the teachers describe how the learning material works and how it can be used, what the purpose is, and also for which target group the material is suitable. The second and third part are very important parts, because in the second part, the teachers describe from literature why the material stimulates certain skills and why this is especially important for the gifted students. And in the third part, teachers describe how the learning material is experienced in their own educational practice. And they also describe positive points about the material and possible points for improvement. And the last part are the references according to APA, such as books or articles that they've used for their description. This is an example of a material description, and this is created by Natalie, one of our teachers from Point. And this teaching method is this description is about a teaching method, Gray of the Day. Maybe some of you are familiar with this method, but it's really, really nice. On the first page, Natalie described, as I told you in the previous slide, how Gray of the Day works. And she described, for example, that the aim of the Gray of the Day lessons is to increase general knowledge and to make students curious. On the second page, Natalie described from literature why Gray of the Day is an effective and proven method. And she described, for example, that Gray of the Day stimulates skills like long-term memory or creative thinking. And on the last page, Natalie described how Gray of the Day is experienced by herself, but also by her colleagues and by her gifted students and other students. And she described that her gifted students also created their own Gray of the Day lessons. And this was a really nice idea because the gifted students were very motivated and they learned a lot about new topics. So this is how the material descriptions are constructed. And our experience is that making a material description and conducting research really contributes to a critical mindset. And that also contributes to better education for gifted students and their classmates. Oh, and these material descriptions are also shared on our website, so take a look if you want. And we hope teachers and other professionals can benefit from our knowledge. Finally, we will show you this video. I hope it works. This is Linda van Elderen. She's a teacher researcher in Point, and in this video, Linda tells us what Point has delivered for her school and also for herself as a teacher.
Hello, my name is Linda van Elderen and I'm a teacher researcher at the Educational Research Lab Point for 6 years now. My participation in Point has meant a lot to my practice and my own development. Because I'm constantly being fed with scientific insights, I'm able to look critically at my own actions and my own practice and make adjustments when necessary. The constant interaction between science and practice is very valuable to me. Through my participation in Point, I have discovered that I want to develop myself in doing practical research. I experience that it's very valuable to link my practical experience and the scientific knowledge I'm gaining in order to constantly improve my own teaching practice. I'm very happy that I have had the opportunity to participate in Point and would give every teacher this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Linda. This was already our presentation. I saw that time is already over. I hope you get inspired, and if you have any questions, we sit there. Yes, these are all our Point labs, so we will say thank you and goodbye, or how we say it in Dutch, bedankt en tot ziens.